Aloha, everybody. This is Tiggy Maximus with Tiggy Maximus Talks on YouTube, episode 170. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast, watching the podcast. Thank you for supporting, following, subscribing, donating towards the podcast. Tiggy Maximus Talks. Remember to share, spread the word to your friends and family and whoever you come upon. You know, I'll be talking about food, comedy, and sports every day, every week, forever. So, on this episode of 170, there are 4 comedy shows I want to talk about. 4 great shows. First show, it was at the Privateer. This place is out in Oceanside. Great place, really nice area, and it's run by the one and only Heather Marie. Probably got to meet her. Great comic, great producer, and she's a very not only athletic, but you know, she's very tough. She's like a one-woman show. She actually cleans up everything by herself. I did help her out after the show, but nonetheless, when it comes to carrying like speakers and mics and stuff, some of the heavy stuff to clean up the stage, I guess she kind of runs the Privateer, or runs it together with somebody, I guess, maybe. So I actually got to help out to clean up, and I'm glad I did because it's a lot of stuff to you know, put away, but she did get to start off the show, and it's a 1-hour show, kind of. She started off with some jokes, talked about her husband, talked about her 2 dogs. 2 dogs don't get along with each other. She did talk about how there's a scam going on with like misrepresentation of a dog breed. So, of course, you know, she got the dogs, but the dogs don't get along, supposedly. Big dog, small dog, and, well, I don't know. Maybe those 2 dogs will get along. Anywho, overall, she really did great with the crowd, and I got a sense of her comedy again, because I did see her at the Gold Room at the Mic Drop Comedy Club when I believe Jennifer Sturger was there. Her shows are every Tuesday at Oceanside Privateer, and you know, for myself, I kind of plan to go at least once a month or figure out who's actually headlining the show. She does have herself, an opener, and the headliner. So simple, 3 comics, all get an adequate amount of time, and she did really well with this crowd, and there's a built-in crowd too, so they know they have comedy, good food. I actually want to try out their pizza next time I go there. I might go there next Tuesday, or whoever is an appealing headliner that I might or might not know. So I would say she was an 8.6 out of 10. Did pretty well with it. Yeah, you know, did well with the crowd. She did bring up Wendy Wilkins. So, first time seeing Wendy. I might have seen her name a few times on flyers. So it's kind of cool getting to see her set. She's talking about how she looks hot in certain situations. She might not be like San Diego hot, but she looks like I need a ride home hot, or you know, I just came out of my son's hockey practice hot, stuff like that. Mainly just to kind of need a ride home. You look a lot hotter when you have a car and someone needs a ride. So she went on for a good amount of time. She was kind of consistent with the laughs throughout her set. I liked her a lot. I would say she was an 8.75 out of 10. Then we got the headliner, Laura Hayden. I've seen her one time before. She was at the Comedy Heights, which was a show produced by Al Gavi. We were in those shows Fridays and Saturday nights down at the Adams Avenue, right by the Adams Avenue Theater. Laura Hayden talked about how many first dates she's been on. I think she said 123 first dates and 0 second dates. So that is quite a stat to tell everybody. But they kind of get us set the tone for the rest of her set and the crowd. And the crowd liked her. It started to pick up after maybe 5 minutes into her set. In the first 5 minutes, I guess she was kind of gauging to see what kind of crowd she was working with. But after the first 5 minutes, I think people started laughing every so often throughout the rest of her set. And she talked about, it's the perks of a guy dating an older woman. Because if you date a younger woman, they're gonna be like, "What you thinking about?" And she did this position where she's kind of like doe-eyed, versus you have a more experienced woman, older, who doesn't give a crap about what you think, which is, I guess, is probably the more ideal situation, I guess. So that was fun. I would say Laura Hayden. I would say she was probably an 8.7 out of 10. Overall, great show. I did get to have some sweet potato fries and a vanilla cheesecake. Great server by the name of Chelsea. Honestly, I would go back, like I said before, and just gonna figure out who's on the schedule. But the show is every Tuesday, and if you ever have a chance to see Wendy Wilkins or Laura Hayden or Heather Marie, if they're in a town near you, go see them because they're really great. Honestly, they would do well at almost any place they perform at. So there's that. That was Tuesday. Was it April 16th? On April 17th, I got to have the pleasure of seeing Tom Arnold headline the Shindig show at the La Jolla Comedy Store. The host was Matt Grisat. First time seeing this guy, big guy. I didn't get to hear much of his jokes, so I'm not going to talk about much of his comedy, but he did bring up guys like Rick Martinelli. He did get some laughs in there. Did well, for what I can tell. I was invited by Ellice Lin because she's a big fan of Tom Arnold. I did notice that Rick Martinelli didn't do so bad. Crowd was very into his set. I would say he was about a 8.2 out of 10. Then we got Richie Spy Chala. Guy has like this Brooklyn accent. Talked about dating. Honestly, he was all over the stage actually, and he did a little bit of crowd work. So that's actually pretty cool. So I would say he was about a 8.5 out of 10. Then we also got Andrew D. Pearson. Guy was pretty cool. I thought he did pretty well. He might have had a little bit of crowd work in there. But overall, I would say he was about a 8.4 out of 10 as well. And then we do have Doc Opp. Guy talked about being a doctor, but he's been traveling around a lot. Talked about patients, talking about People asking him questions um, about being a doctor. But the guy was really hilarious though for his entire set. I gotta say, the crowd liked him a lot. He was probably an 8.6 out of 10. And then this is kind of a weird setup, but they actually had the headliner in the middle of the show. The reason why I say that is because there were actually more comics that came after Tom Arnold, but Tom Arnold had like a good amount of time up there. It must have been like 30, 45 minutes maybe. And honestly, I thought that was the end of the show, but there were actually more comics that came after. So, interesting format. Not too bad. I mean, I would say like if you're that into a comedy show, that's probably the best time because in the second half of a comedy show, whether you're anticipating the headliner at the end, but if you're at your peak energy level and you're engaged at your best in the middle of a show, putting Tom Arnold in the middle of the show probably makes sense in that sense. It's actually not a bad idea, actually. I mean, considering that if you were to start off with some warm-ups, that comics that warm up the crowd, and then they get, you know, they're mostly focused at their best in the middle of the show, I suppose, and then you place the headliner right there. Not a bad idea. And then a kind of a cool down period, you have comics that would kind of calm down the crowd in a way, and then that's how you finish out the show. But, you know, we could do it either way. You either start with the guy in the half of the show, have the headliner there, or if at the end of the night, everybody got to hear a whole bunch of jokes, and you get to see the guy you've all been waiting for, and maybe you rest yourself up to that point, or rest yourself up to the middle of the show. I mean, it works either way. I can't complain either way, honestly. There's a lot of ways you could probably do it. So, Tom Arnold got to talk about some life stories. He talked about hanging out with Hugh Grant. Talked about hanging out with Madonna. Talked about how, you know, when it comes to actors, like they see each other at different movie sets, but technically they don't have to be obligated to be friends because they're on the same set, but they're movie friends apparently. So yeah, that was interesting to hear about. But he did say that at one point, you know, Tom Arnold said he wanted to hang out, and then Hugh Grant invited Tom Arnold to like up to the penthouse, hang out with Madonna. I think Madonna and Hugh Grant were about to do stuff, but Tom Arnold and Hugh Grant did see some really nice stuff out of a suitcase. There was like a suitcase that probably belongs to Madonna, but then Madonna caught them going through her suitcase that was like in a different room, and she yelled at them, and they both were kicked out. But apparently, what Tom had said was that Hugh Grant then mentioned, like, you didn't think that we were friends, did you? Like, oh no, you know, just not that, you know, we worked together on the movie set. You know, sometimes we like to hang out after movies, but you know, that's all it is. But apparently, he didn't gauge the room or read the messages right. But what's interesting was he heard that Hugh Grant got into trouble, and Hugh Grant did actually call Tom Arnold, and I guess this is payback. Tom Arnold said, "Oh, you didn't think we were friends, did you?" So, yeah. So I guess if you say that to somebody and it comes back at you, full circle karma. Overall, great set from Tom Arnold. A lot of people were laughing throughout. It was nice to hear some life stories, and you know, I'm glad that Ellice Lin got to bring me out to that. So, Tom Arnold, I would say he's 9 out of 10. Great job, Tom Arnold. Now, what's interesting was that there were actually some other comics. Matt did bring out Pamela Waldrop, and surprisingly, she did really, really well. The crowd just liked so much of what she said. Her talking about, you know, how she was destined to be in theater and sing, and she should basically have her own musical with 12 gay dancers behind her or something singing. So that was actually pretty cool because, you know, she kept people engaged throughout her time that she had. I always say, you know, honestly, she was a 8.8 out of 10. We also had a Carol Johnson, and she did talk about her dating. Uh, Talked about dating like maybe younger guys, but she kind of wanted to stop dating guys her own age because, you know, they're all old. So there's not real dating options when it comes to her age. But she was super funny, but it did take some time to get used to her set to get going because it did start off a little bit slow, but then it picked up, like, you know, kind of like after 3 minutes maybe. But she did pretty well. I would say she was about an 8.5 out of 10. So then we got a guy by the name of Corey Coogan. They said that the guy does a lot of shows everywhere. He did. I guess he did talk about being pulled over. And then he talked about. I think he talked about gaming. Gaming and dating. But overall, I did see that he was really funny to the crowd. The crowd liked him. I would say he was probably an 8.7 out of 10. And then the last guy that went up, Gary Robinson. Cool. He talked about this is what you look like when you forget to do makeup for TV or something. And I do remember seeing him walk around behind me while the show was going on, but I didn't know who Gary Robinson was. But I guess he's done some TV or something and been on screen. So he was kind of funny. I thought that he was probably an 8.5 out of 10. So overall, great show, the Shindig show. Jimmy Shin I wanted to meet, but I guess he was out of town, so he was somewhere else. So Matt Grisat had to run the show in his absence. So overall, great show. I probably will go back. I do see his show come up a lot in the Comedy Store calendar. So if you ever see a lot of these comics, Matt Grisat, Rick Martinelli, Richie Spicala, Jan Drew, Dean Pearson, Doc Opp, Tom Arnold, Paul Waldrop, Carol Johnson, Corey Coogan, and Gary Robinson. So if they're in a town near you, go out and see them. I did go to a show on, I think it was April 18th, Thursday night, and it was We Own the Laugh show. The show was hosted by Lucey Love, but it's produced by Tyson Paul, and the headliner was Dean Gonzalez. Quite a lineup. Lucey Love started off, talked about her usual jokes about Asian girls with their orgasms, how they sound like. Tokyo Drift was always a mention. I kind of liked how she does kind of act out some of her jokes. It's kind of cool. But I don't think that she got a lot of laughs though. It was mostly the same stuff I've heard before, but I don't know if it's like the same crowd I've seen it before, but it was kind of chill. So Lucey hosted and started off the show. She was probably 8 out of 10. Then she brought up Morgan Lindwall. Seen him before. He didn't talk about Paris too much, but he did talk about um, I guess black guys dating, not talking about an ex-girlfriend, kind of reminiscent about her. Uh, is that kind of one of those, do you have a favorite ex, or do you still think about your favorite ex or something? But of course, it kind of leads into some crowd work, and there's couples in the front row. But I think he only got laughs more towards like the end, and it's probably just one particular joke that happened. So I would say he was about a 7.9 out of 10. Next we had Linda Schwartz. She travels a lot now for shows. She just came in from like Chicago, the Laugh Factory there. She did have most of her familiar jokes from before. Talked about egg rolls and barbecue, living in the South. Talked about how she got married to an older guy, and how the guy kind of like talked about, you know, dependence and tax benefits and not having to work. But overall, I would say it's a great set. Kind of liked her for most of her stuff that she said. I would say she was probably an 8 out of 10 for her set. Then we got to see Marcos Alvarez. Guy was pretty funny. Talked about his grandma. I guess he did talk about dating at some point. And I would say Marcos is probably an 8.4 out of 10 for his comedy. Next we have Lourdes Ayon. She also goes by Lulu. I think I've heard of her before, and I was at the Halloween show last year, but I don't remember her set back then. But for this one, she talked about how she has an accent, and how, you know, her accent can be kind of annoying, but she did crowd work. And then she talked about how, you know, she likes to date younger guys, and then she likes to kind of have this kind of a teaser where, you know, from behind she looks like she could be in her 20s, 30s, and then when she goes clubbing, but when she turns around, boom, you know, this is how she looks at 50. I think she said she's 51 or something, but she looks good though. So she talked about dating, her childhood, I guess, her upbringing, and then just like, you know, dating stuff, and I guess there's a saying where if a Latina says something, but they follow it up with and say it for a while, then that means they're lying. But overall, she got the crowd hyped up because I think she had a group with her. She did pretty well. 8.6 out of 10 for her comedy. Then we got the guy who runs the whole thing, Tyson Paul. He talked about how he wants to break up with his girlfriend because his girlfriend doesn't give him any respect. That was pretty cool though. But overall, he talked about how, you know, he wanted to take on a guy, but then girlfriend again, disrespectful, saying that guy's gonna beat you up. And then he talked about how he does have a twin, but the twin is in jail or something for a crime or something. So honestly, I don't remember what he looks like. If whoever the twin is, I don't know who the twin looks like, other than the fact that it looks like him. But honestly, like, I don't know what his twin actually, like, who his twin is, you know. So overall, he did have some chill moments, and he doesn't really smile that much. But he got some good laughs in his set. So I would say he's about 8.6 out of 10. And then we got our headliner, Dean Gonzalez. First time seeing the guy. And he likes to start off with some crowd work. He got to cozy up to this one older lady named Dolores. That was actually a funny segment because he actually got her to stand up, and they were doing a little dance in the beginning, and then he kind of like also followed along with the whole fact that Latinas do actually say ah if they're kind of lying after they make a statement. Well, that hair looks good on you, or that dress looks good on you. Ah. So he then kind of led it to the fact, because while he's doing the crowd work, he also brought up that he did a 23andMe to find out how Latino or what other nationalities or races he might be. And then he said that it also mentioned that, that he was like very well gifted, pointing to his junk. But then, like, I don't know, I must have started it because everybody else followed me after I said this, but I said ah when he's pointing to his junk that was, well gifted, well endowed. And then everybody just started laughing, and then like, he wanted to leave. He was about to leave the gold room through the back. He wanted to leave through the crowd, and that was like the biggest joke of the entire night because I started the thing when he pointed about his special gifts down there. So in a way, I kind of apologize for making fun of your junk and got the crowd to follow along with me, but it was funny. I mean, it was the perfect time to say ah. So my friends Louie and Jackie were there, so it was kind of cool. We all got to hang out and to kind of see who's who there. So Dean Gonzalez did talk about some jokes. It did have a lot of stoppages with the crowd with laughing because it did seem like he has some good laughs and then it stops and it chilled, good laughs again but chilled again. So it's kind of hard to see like what kind of comedy he has, his comedy going on. So honestly, the guy was pretty funny, and I actually got to talk to most of the comics after the show, and I got a group picture with all of them. So I would say Dean Gonzalez, I would say he was about 8.7 out of 10. So overall, great show. I'm glad I got to go. I think I was invited by Lucey Love, so I wanted to come out and support. So, and in doing so, I got to meet some new comics, and it's always nice to kind of meet new people. So, overall, another great night of comedy. And then, last but not least, I got to go back to where my accident was, where my car got hit by a drunk driver. I wasn't in the car, but I was at a comedy show hosted by Ellice Lin. So this time I actually made it through the end of the show. I'm glad. Ellice Lin got to start off the show at the Turquoise Europa Cafe. I guess the show only runs on Friday nights or whenever it's available. So, and I guess it's like maybe every few Fridays or one Friday out of every month, maybe, give or take. Whatever's available. It's actually a nice place to kind of have a mic. So she started off, she talked about getting pulled over, but it's tough being Asian because the cop will ask for your registration, your license, and your SAT score. That might have been her funniest joke because she does talk about a lot of facts, but I think that might have been their best one of the set. So I would say Ellice Lin was probably a 7.8 out of 10 for her comedy. Next we have Elwin Warsh. Um, Guy talked about dating. Um, I think he also talked about what he looks like, what people thought he looks like, but um, he got some laughs, but it was mostly chill for his set. So I would say he was a 7 out of 10. Uh, Ellis and Elwin are actually gonna roast each other on May 1st at the Comedy Store La Jolla. So that should be an interesting one to see. I'm actually gonna go to that. So next we have Aaron Trahan. He does a lot of did you know stuff, and then talked about oxygen and punching through oxygen like it just came out of thin air. Um, he does make noises while he does his set, so but he got some laughs, and then some were just very quiet and then laughs again. So I would say he was about a 7.5 out of 10. Next we have Grant Stefkas. First time seeing him perform. He did talk about stuff like what do you call it, messy, sloppy soccer player. He said messy. He talked about Dayton. He had some really like smart jokes, but some of them were kind of hit or miss. And so the crowd was kind of laughing sometimes, but sometimes it was kind of chill. I would say he was about maybe a 7.5 out of 10. Next we have Mimi Harris. She talked about dicks a lot, and then people kept showing up when she kept saying the word dicks. So that was kind of funny. Talked about for being in Pacific Beach in Boston. She did a little bit of crowd work, but overall, didn't do too bad. I would say Mimi Harris was probably a 7.6 out of 10. Next we have Phil Alvarez. What's funny about this is that Ellis said Sarah Hirschberger, but then actually it was Phil Alvarez. So, and then I think Ellis was trying to do a full intro for Phil Alvarez, but Phil Alvarez was already like, it's already too late. He's gonna do a set, but just call him Sarah, apparently. I wanted to say go Sarah during his set, but then like I couldn't find the right time to say it. So he did talk about his job, dream job, and then talk about dating. He talked about being the child of Jeff Goldblum or something. So he has some really funny spots, and then some was a little bit kind of dark, but I would say he got an 8 out of 10 for his comedy. Then we got Sarah Hirschberger, who is not Phil Alvarez, but wow, she had a lot of new material that I've never heard of before, outside of her the sex joke and the stone, picking up the stone joke. She had some really good jokes, and she was the best one of the entire night. I would say she was already a 8.75 for her comedy, and obviously she had the best ovation, the best laughs out of everybody that was on the lineup. So okay. Then next we have, I think it was so Honey. So she sang a little bit with her jokes. And so she sang a few songs, and you might remember some of the songs, and she just changed out the words. But it was really cool, and good voice. She was on point with the song. There was a lot of laughs because she said a lot of jokes in her song. I would say she was already an 8.3 out of 10 for comedy and singing. So. And then the last person of the night, Carla Amador, she closed out the show. She talked about her family, talking about kids racing behind her, She talks about her nieces and nephews. But yeah, she talked about mostly about family, and then talked about her dad. She had some fun stuff to talk about. Crowd kind of laughed for a few of her jokes, and then some other parts was kind of chill, but it was a good mixture. And I think she was trying some new material, so I think she was like an 8.1 out of 10. So that's all the comedy that I got to see last week, April 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. 4 great shows, a lot of great comics. Nice to meet everybody that I got to meet in the last week or so. And there's some more comedy shows next week. Can't wait for that. Roast battle, improv show, and I'm pretty sure there's some other ones too. And then Canelo is fighting next Saturday, May 4th, against Mugia. So that should be interesting to watch that. And there's also UFC 301 from Brazil. So a lot of stuff going on May 4th. It's also the beginning of Netflix is a Joke Festival. So a lot of great comics spread out through LA. If you guys have a chance, check out the festival. Check out all these great comics that are coming through. Maybe I might go to one show. I know Sami Zayn, the wrestler, is in there. Tom Brady is getting roasted during Netflix is a Joke. So who knows? Who knows? Anywho, that's it for me, guys. Hope you had a good time. Listen to me talk about comedy, all these great comics. Remember to go see them when they're in a town near you. And check out all these venues. They're all great places to see comedy. And hopefully I'll see you guys at the next show. Well, this is Tiggy Maximus. Boom. Tiggy Maximus signing off. Baby. All right, later, guys. Have a good weekend. Oh yeah, I'm going to see the San Diego Seals indoor lacrosse team make the playoffs as the number 2 seed, and they're going to face the number 7 seed Panther City at the San Diego Sports Arena, San Diego Pachanga Sports Arena. It's tomorrow night, Saturday night, 7 o'clock. Number 2 versus number 7. San Diego. They have a shot of winning the National Lacrosse League Championship. They have a good chance. A great team. Might be better than last year. Hopefully they can win 3 games and hoist that trophy in the end. So good luck, San Diego Seals. Alright, boom. Tiggy Maximus signing off, baby.